It is easy to configure, and it is pre-configured template. And the concern is it requires a workflow development for any changes, and that requires a workflow developer. This is a specific skill set where the customers might not have the workflow developers all the time on the floor, and it requires an additional development and testing when you are actually doing an enhancement. An enhancement is the only one option for us to do a small and medium changes. If it is a very huge change, then we have to build a complete custom workflow template. And the agent types are only limited to HR master. I mean to say, when we are configuring a workflow with an approval process, the next level person can only be identified with the HR org units. Either it can be a org unit, or it can be a position, or it can be a job ID, or it can be a business partner ID which is being created in the system. That is only specific to HR master. Other than that, we do not have any alternate options. And the change request statuses and the user actions are hard-coded in the template. Let's say if you want to change the change request status, let's say when we submit a change request, it says changes is yet to be executed. When it is with the file level approver, final check has to be performed. This is what the status of a CR. Now the statuses are hard-coded in the system when we are taking a static workflow template. For the BRF based workflow template, it is flexible to configure any kind of a complex workflow scenarios in the system. Now when we are saying it's a configurable tool, it does not require much testing efforts. Yeah, we do a partial testing. Whatever the scenario which has been configured, we'll make sure that the configuration is moving as per our workflow process. That's a very basic testing efforts that we need to put. And the CR status and the workflow actions are configurable. Now we can take the control of what its change request status has to be and what all actions that he can perform. Sometimes approvers would like to have approve and reject. Instead of that, they would like to have agree and disagree, right? So this kind of label changes can be configurable in BRF based workflow template, and it is very less development effort. Even though if it requires a developer, an ABAP developer can do the enhancements of a BRF based template. It does not require a pure workflow development tagging department to do the changes. Now coming to the agents, the next level persons, along with the HR master, we do have something called security and special agent types, which brings additional value for the BRF based templates. Like the security roles that have been defined by a GRC team, a basis team, or a security team, we can take those roles and configure in a MDG workflow scenarios. That's one advantage that we'll get for BRF+, which we are missing in static template. And there is something called special agent types, which we'll talk about them. Like we'll give initiator or last user ID in the workflow process. So if someone send back for revision, we will configure whether it can be an initiator or a last person. A person who raised a change request, it will go back to that person when we configure initiator. When we configure as a last person, it will go to the previous person from where I got a work item. So that's the special user agent types that we have in BRF based workflow template. And there are some badges provided to implement complex requirements in the BRF+ application. Now, what is the concern for this? Everything has to be configured from scratch. Of course, it might not take much efforts, not hardly more than 1 hour effort, not more than that. And it has a certain amount of performance issues because BRF is also a dynamic application. A workflow process in the BRF+ has good amount of performance consideration. It will decrease the performance of a application. and user training is mandatory. Now, this is not an end user, it's a functional user training is mandatory for BRF+. So these are the three concerns which we can talk about BRF+ application. Any questions on this slide?
Karthik, you said that, Karthik, one question. You said that directly we can incorporate this security role. So means that if we'll give the security roles to some users, so they can able to do any actions?
Yes, they can perform an action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Karthik. How many different we assign the agent, means in role or in HR table or in
See, all those details we'll talk about. Right now, this slide only talks about pros and concerns. The details definitely will be discussing in the coming slides.
okay.
So Karthik, there's only one workflow template for this, and the BRF+ application that is used in the backend is only one application, or multiple applications mapped for a workflow?
Yeah, so there would be multiple applications mapped for a workflow. The workflow template would be WS*86 for BRF, but it will have many number of applications based on the CR type. Each CR has one application. So BRF+ application is created at the change request type level.
Okay.
Yeah. So by now we should understand when we need to go for BRF and when to static, right? There should not be any questions on this in future when you are doing an implementation. Now there are some prerequisites for us to configure a workflow. This is not specific to BRF, for a workflow. To create the change specific workflow template is one prerequisite, and then we need to define the total change request types, step types. Now what is the step types? We'll discuss that. And there are some mandatory configurations which we need to do. This is a one-time task. Remember, this one-time task is only applicable less than MDG 8.0 versions. In the new versions of MDG, you don't require to do this. Okay. Now, there is some configuration which I will be showing directly in the system. Now in the process modeling, in the workflow, there is activate type linkage. In this, we have a business object type called BUS2250. Yeah. Now we should have a record like this. BS2250 event created, receiver type is set as space, and receiver type linkage is enabled, and inside that entry there should be a receiver type function model called USMD WF receiver type. If this entry is not available,
Hello,
we should
Karthik.
add that entry.
Hello, Karthik. Can you go back to the previous screen? Once. No, back. So here one more is they are created in that below. Okay, receiver type 27. What is that one then? This is not our concern.
This is not related to our templates.
Okay.
So same business object will be leveraged in multiple frameworks. Now MDG using this business object type in its framework with the receiver type set as space, and this is something which is specific to some other module. So we need to make sure that this entry exists. This is the one of the prerequisite. If it is not available, generally if it won't be available in a fresh system of MDG 7.0 versions. Starting from 8.0, this entry is by default provided. And one more prerequisite step would be in the workflow, configure workflow tasks. In this, in application framework, we'll go to assign agents.
Hello, Karthik.
Yeah.
Yeah, why you choose that application framework? Because other are there, na? Lot of.
Now this is how we have to do. If you look at the documentation, they will tell us go to this application framework, and when we are saying application framework, on this framework our workflow templates will run.
So below are key mapping, mass load. These things we are not never using, or in.
No, we don't. There is no agent assignment in any of these other frameworks. The agent assignment is only available in application framework.
Okay.
I think this is the standard template, correct?
Correct.
So in that, yes, it is given that a agent assignment at the higher level, like at this place. But when we are using the custom thing, so we can use our own, like every level we want, or at the root level we want, we can do that, correct?
No, so I think you'll be getting an answer in next 2 minutes, okay?
Okay,
So this
sure.
configuration is not relevant to any specific template. This is a generic across your templates. Now, you take static template or you take a BRF based template. In the template, when they are creating some tasks, right? Every workflow will have some task ID. These are those task IDs which they will be using in a BRF or static workflow templates.
Correct.
Now, except the background task, I mean all these tasks, we are not focused on these background tasks. We can ignore them.
Yes, because it will automatically get triggered.
Right. Now, in the fresh system, there are some tasks which starts with TS
Correct.
followed by star. Anything will be set as null. You will see like this. For WS, you don't are seeing any classification, right? Whether it's general or background task. Similarly, you will be seeing some of the tasks which are not classified either for background or for general task, which starts with TS star.
Yes.
Now those tasks will select it, go to attributes and say general task radio button and click on transfer. Then the task will be classified as a general task. This is one-time activity. Let's say if you are not doing this, your workflows will get stuck in between. You will see errors.
Okay.
So that becomes a trigger point for you to come and check this workflow configuration exists or does not exist. Any questions on this?
No.
Okay. The same point has been explained here. Yeah. Now, this is the template which predominantly used in most of the static workflow templates, which is a very simple workflow. Requester, specialist and approver. 3 level of approvals are configured in the static workflow template, which most of the customers, most of the industries across the regions will be using the simple workflow template. Generally, there would be requester, specialist and approver. Now this overview not needed for this. We need to discuss about some decision tables in a BRF plus workflow. Now to discuss about this decision tables, rather than directly jumping into the theoretical concept, I would like to take an example and start discussing them. Now there is a requester, specialist, approver. Now when requester raise a request, how does specialist know about it? That there is a request?
Same request will get triggered to the specialist, or some mail will go to him or something. Some communication will be sent.
Exactly. Any
Through
email.
any email or through the inbox.
Some notification.
Some notification, email notification. And similarly, when specialist has sent a request to approver, there will be again an email, right? Which automatically goes when we configure the email engine in the backend, right? So now, do you classify the requester action is a foreground action where some user has to take an action on a UI? Yes, requester is a user-based action. Someone has to do it. And specialist, it is also same, right? Some user has to take an action. And approver also supposed to take an action. Now, do you think email is a user-based action?
No, it's a background process.
It's a background, right? So the moment requester submit a request, automatically it has to send an email in the backend. So this functionality of email will be a background task. Similarly, this email also background task. Now, if we go back to that deployment option, storage mode, let's take this as a reuse mode scenario. After approver approves the request, what should happen in the system?
Approve data
The
replication.
CR should have got approved, like the CR will get approved in
It will be activated the CR and data replication is going on.
Exactly. So activation should exist, right? If it's a reuse mode, automatically access class will replicate the data from staging area to active area, right? So once the data is moved, then what should happen to this workflow? The entire objective of this request is to activate a specific request, right? So the request has been completed. Now what should happen to the workflow?
Karthik, actually in background when you activate, what will happen?
It will move the data from staging area from 0 to the active area.
After activation. Okay.
Yeah. So after approval, the activation step will make sure the data replication will happen. Once this activation is completed, then your workflow has to be logically completed, right? This is what objective of a request. Since this is done, your workflow will be completed.
For that any configuration we need to do for the activation?
Yes. Yes, yes. All these things requires a configuration.
Okay.
Now, I have 10, 20, or rather I should say, okay, I go with 20, 30, 40. Now let me make it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Total number of steps, how many? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, how many user steps are there here? 1, 3, 5. How many background? 2, 4, 6, 7. Right? Now, if we are able to split a workflow into these 3 categories, the same 3 categories has to be configured in certain tables in BRF+ application. For total number of steps, we have single value decision table. For user steps, we have user agent decision table. For background, we have non-user agent decision table. We have 3 different tables to hold the responsibility of 3 different tasks. Clear so far?
Karthik, one doubt. This completed, this is one step, or this is just a
It's a step.
notification? It is
It's
a step.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now, let's do an exercise in the system directly with this help of PPT, not in the system. There is an exercise which is planned. Now, the single validation table has total number of 14 columns, and if you segregate these columns as an input and output, this is how it will look like. Now, in this, the highlighted columns in bold are mandatory to configure. Previous step and previous action. Result columns are condition alias, new step and new change request status. Okay, and we have user agent decision table with total of 5 columns, and the input column is condition alias, and rest of the result columns are step type, agent type and agent value. If you look at the condition alias is a result column here, that result will be given to an input of a single validation table, which will give an agent type, whether it's org unit or job or position, and the value of it. And this is a non-user agent decision table where we need to give a process pattern. Now, what do you mean by process pattern? Now, activation, right? Completion, rollback, replicate. All these things are certain functionalities in MDG which are common. Now, this functionalities is given in a way of some number called process pattern. There is some number assigned to activation called 05. There is some number assigned to a completion called 99. There is some number assigned to rollback, say, I think 08. These numbers are predefined by SAP. We cannot change these numbers anymore. Okay, so certain functionalities are delivered as a number. That number will be configured under a process pattern, because a background step has to execute some function in the backend. That function is assigned with this number. Now, how does this work is a question. Now, So to identify what is my tomorrow date, what reference I need?
Today's date.
Today's date, right? And to identify what is my distance between, my destination. How far is my destination? Let's say if I'm going to, say, Hyderabad from my current location. What is the distance calculation? What is the reference based on the current location, right? Where I'm sitting. Similarly, to identify who is the next person in the workflow, what do we need?
Previous step.
We need who is the current person executing it,
Okay.
right? Or we can say it can be a new person also. I mean, it can be a previous person also. Current person or slash previous person. Now,
Karthik, one doubt, since I'm not very aware about workflow, so is there a possibility to find out like what are the steps in a workflow, like who are the people who are assigned in the workflow or something like that, so that at one shot we can find out who all are the people who will be approving in the workflow?
no, it's not there. We need to actually analyze it.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so let me take an example here. So this is my next step. Okay, and this is my previous step. So from the previous step, the work item has to come to the next step, correct? Agree?
Yes.
Now, let's say there might be a possibility that, you take the previous step have two actions, right? Like say approve or reject. Now, do you think for both the actions, there would be a same person?
No.
No, right? If it is approve, it will go to a next level called specialist. If it is reject, it will go to the next person called, maybe the requester. So the next step identification is not only based on the previous step, but also it is based on what? Previous action also. It's a combination of both. Hope everyone agrees with this. What is the next step in the workflow is identified based on what was the previous step and the action executed by the previous step. True? Okay. So now there is a single value decision table based on the previous step and the previous action. The new step or the next step is identified based on the previous step and previous action. Next step is identified. So whenever the work item is going from one level to another level, the status will also change. Example, when we are handling an incident, the moment developer completed the development, what do he do? He'll change the status development complete and then he'll send it to the next person. Right? So when the work item is moving from one level to another level, obviously there will be a status change. So there will be a new status. For the new step, we need to assign the new status. Based on the previous step, previous action, these are the two outcomes. And the third outcome would be condition alias. Now this condition alias is again given as a input in user agent decision table. If this condition alias is available in a user agent decision table, then the next step will be a user step. If it is not available in user agent, if it is available in a background agent decision table, then it will become a next step will become a background step. So the next step classification is based on the condition alias available in user agent decision table or a background agent decision table. Okay.
So I think this condition alias is like a field. It holds some value.
Right. It is kind of a join between two different tables.
Okay.
It is a join. The output of single value decision table is given to an input of a user agent decision table.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now in user agent decision table, if you provide this input type as condition alias, the output of this user agent decision table would be who are the users to whom the work item can go. And background agent decision table, what is the process pattern, what function it has to execute. We need to understand this diagram. Yeah.
So the process pattern will never come in case of UADT, user action decision table.
Never, never. And we need to make sure that the condition alias should fall in either of these two tables, but not in both or not missing in both. Then your workflow will get stuck in between.
Okay.
Okay. Chalo, then let's do a small exercise. Now this is what we are going to configure in the system. A workflow configuration. Okay. Now there are some statuses which are available in the change request level. We discussed this list of statuses in the previous class. Change request status. And these are the total number of change request steps. What are they? These are the steps which we discussed here. The total number of steps. We need to configure the total number of steps here. First, we define the total number of steps, and then we'll configure them. And these are the process patterns which are pre-delivered by SAP. 2 for synchronous method, 3 for sub workflow, 4 for data replication, 5 for activation, 6 for some activation bypass snapshot.
What is that? Karthik, can you repeat it once again?
No, these are certain functionalities given as a process pattern. One will be activation, one would be replication of the data, one would be validating the data, another would be rollback the data, another would be completion of data.
So that all are in background, no user assignment, okay?
No user. Okay. And the step, if it is a foreground user type, then we have something called step.
Karthik, one doubt. This background thing which you just told for the dialogue, synchronous method or like activation, on what basis it is decided like what value should be passed?
That again we'll discuss in detail. There is a last slide which is presented. Here we have the descriptions of when to use which functionality. Okay.
Okay.
And step type is something, it's a window. In the step type we have some actions 03 or 04. These are purely configurable in the system. Again, this is purely our configuration. Sometimes users would say approve, reject, send for revision. I want 3 actions. Sometimes approve and send for revision. Sometimes approve and reject with a reason. Like that they would ask us to configure these actions. These are purely configurable. Now, we have this 3 steps, 10, 20, 40 as a user steps, dialog steps, and the hash color ones are background steps, 30, 60 and 50. Because we are trying to configure what? We are trying to configure this model. Request, review, approve is a workflow template which we wanted to configure. And if requester give a positive action, generally we say positive, negative and neutral actions. Positive means approve. Then it goes to reviewer. Positive means finalized process. Then it goes to approver. Now if approver rejects it, that's a negative action. It goes to the requester. It has to go to the requester. And reviewer rejects it, it has to go to the requester. This is what we need to model. Now, requester is a person who generally stands outside of the workflow because he will be the initiator. That's why this fellow is out of the box of workflow. Now, here we need to understand this color codings. 10 means the step number. REV means the condition alias. And the purple color is a step type or a process pattern, and the yellow color ones are the actions that user can perform, and the green color is the status, change request status. So before going to a new step, every time status has to change. Okay, so based on the previous step 00 and there is no action from the requester step, it is hard-coded by default in the system. The next step is 10, the new status is 02 and new condition alias is REV. The same entry has been displayed here as a record. Similarly, if the previous step was 10 and the previous action was 05, the next step is 20, new status is 01, new condition alias is APP. Instead of going for 05 action, if the previous step was 10 and the previous action was 06, the new step is 40, new status is 03, and new condition alias is RES. Hope you are with me, right? Any questions?
Please repeat. I just missed.
Yeah. So now you would be saying, what is if the previous step is 20 and the
20.
previous action was 03, what is the new step where it has to go?
5.
New step
30.
30.
30. Yes, new step 30. New status. Okay.
And for the new step, what should be the status?
05.
05. Exactly. And what is the condition alias of the new step?
Act.
ACT. Exactly. Right? The same has been captured in the record. Now, instead of 03, if the previous step was 20 and the previous action was 04, what is the new step?
New 40.
And the new status?
03.
And the new condition alias?
RES.
Exactly. And the previous step was 40 and the previous action was 07. What is the new step?
N.
New status?
02.
And new condition alias?
REV.
Exactly. So likewise, we have all these steps. Now when we are coming to background step, there is a special case for activation. This is only special for activation step. Now generally in ECC we have something like a size sub-RC statement. Hope everyone has heard about it, right? If the size sub-RC is equals to 0, then the select statement or the database statement is success. If it is not equals to 0, then it's a failure. Similarly, if the activation is successful, that means the data is moved from staging area to active area, then it will give the value of 31. Due to any reasons, if there is a failure, then the value will be not equals to 31. It can be 32, 34, 36, it doesn't matter for us.
I can't get. Can you repeat it?
When activation step is being executed, it will move the data from staging area to active area, right? Due to any reason, there is a failure in this moment, it will use a number called 30, sorry, not equals to 31. If it is success, then it will be 31. So even though we should not consider it as an action, but as I'm telling you as a special case, we will take the previous action for a activation step equals to 31 or not equals to 31.
So based on this value, we will get to know whether it is successful or not. Like that,
Correct.
are you? Okay.
Okay. If it is failure, again we are sending it back to the requester step. Now, why are we sending it to requester step? Do you have that question? It's an example that we are taking. Now, this is something customer has to tell us. Due to any reason, if it is failing, what should happen? It should complete the workflow saying it is error, or it should go back to the requester, or it should update the log and it has to close the workflow. That's something the customer will tell us.
Means failure means it's not get approved, or like the data didn't get updated in that case.
Didn't get updated. The data didn't get updated.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now if I consolidate all these entries together, this is how it will look like. Each step I captured in one single record, right? If I capture all those records into a table format, this is how it will look like. Okay. Now, we have condition alias called RAV, right? So the condition alias, what is a step type for that? Three, correct? Now, who has to perform this action? Here we are giving US, that means we can configure username. And for approval, what is the step type? It is 2. And for resubmission, what is the step type? It is 4. So based on the step type, we'll have these 2 actions. We are not configuring an actions at a step level, right? I mean, at each time, 10 what are the actions, 20 what are the actions, we are not configuring. We are only configuring a step type. Now 3 will be having 05 and 06. 2 will be having 03 and 04. 4 will be having 08 and 07. So we capture the condition alias for that steps, and there are various agent types which we can configure. These are the possible agent types. Now if you look at these agent types, these are common for static BRF+. Now in our configuration we can use this basic static template agent types and BRF+ special and role related agent types in the configuration. Now who will be creating this org structure, org unit, job position? HR department from SAP. Now you will go, let's say if a material request or raise request, it has to go to an engineer. So you know the person to whom it has to go, but you don't know whether you have to give a position or you have to give a job ID for the user. Marcus is a person who will be an engineer. Now you will send a mail to an SAP HR team, hey, give me the details of this Marcus in the form of a position or a job ID. Then they'll give some number to figure that.
Okay, Karthik, one thing, it's fine. Like, see, the jobs are divided into 50-50, like 2 persons will be, so they will divide the job, like in one position, 50-50% they will do. So in that case, there will be a parallel, or how it will be? 2 persons will be in the same job.
It is is not a parallel, the work item will go to the both person inbox at the same time. Whoever picks it first, then the item will be responsible by them.
Correct. Okay.
Is for or all static. If we go for dynamic, then
What do you mean by dynamic?
at the runtime, if you want to use based on something based on some value.
Further, there is a baddie.
Tutorial, you can show this body also. How to use or
Yes, I will show. Similarly, we have process pattern, right? For the conditional as ACT, we have 05. And RLB, we have 08. COM, we have 99. So this pattern. So at some point of time, we know that we have to close the workflow. Then we'll use 99. We know that we have to do an activation. Then we use 06. We know that we have to trigger the data replication framework. Then we use 04. So there are few details when we have to use this specific. What is the difference between activation bypass snapshot and not bypass snapshot? There is a good amount of discussion which has to go through. And today I just want to limit myself here, because this is completely an overview which I would like to give. In the next session, we will be doing this in a practical, directly in the system.
Karthik, that complete means it will be completed data replication also, or what? If I choose 99, then
it will only complete the workflow. The workflow which is started is always expected to be completed.
So before 99, data replication should there, or
It is
after?
always the workflow expected completed.
Like I can't get. Can you repeat? Suppose I use 99.
I'm saying.
Suppose I use 99. So in before 99, I should use data replication, or after 99. I have confused. Or 99 means it will be completed data replication also.
See, 99 is the end of your process. Now, anything that you wanted to do, you have to do before 99, because after 99, even if you configure anything, nothing is going to happen.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is where I just want to conclude. And today, as I told you, right, I think my time is limited for today.
It's okay, Karthik, but can you send the documents? That we keep repeating. You can send it; it'll be helpful. Okay.
Karthik, one suggestion, like this PDF you can able to share.
We will be having a details.
Karthik. Hello, Karthik. Hello. Hello. Is it audible?
Yeah, it is audible, but Karthik is not there.
Let's definitely on this. If you have any specific question,
Yeah, no. Yes, in this only, right?
I sent it already. Okay.
This PDF you can able to share, so I can again go through this.
Sure. Definitely. Okay. Thank you all.